Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Robert's philosophy, and we have finished the most important chapters, that is the disease classification and all three chronic miasms, along with the tubercular and cancerous miasm from the H.A.Roberts. 10 different chapters were dedicated to this by Robert. And now he turns towards one more very important chapter from this book, and which is not only useful from exam point of view, but very useful in our day-to-day practice, because endocrinology is the branch which is emerging branch. Still, there are problems with the allopathic system of medicine, but we can very perfectly treat the endocrinal disorders with homeopathic therapeutics. And how to look towards endocrinal disorders, how one can go ahead, what is the similarity between the endocrinal glands and our endocrinal system with homeopathy. All those aspects Robert has explained in detail in this specific chapter. We have to learn each and every sentence, and this will reflect definitely in your practice, and which will give you a lot of orientation regarding the endocrinal system and its homeopathic therapy. So let us open your books, chapter number 32, Homeopathic Therapeutics in the Field of Endocrinology. The viewpoint of modern physiologists reflects the theory that the vast majority of human ills are traceable to the dysfunctions of the glandular system, that most growth problems, over or underdevelopment of the whole body or parts, and many maladjustments of the child to its environment, even of the adults to its relationships and problems, are related in some degree to endocrine imbalance. So to start with chapter, he has explained that many physicians, many doctors, many physiologists, they have explained one theory that many of the human disorders are related with this endocrine system. Because endocrine has a very close relationship with the human emotions. So many of the disorders where we used to find it out, the autoimmune disorders, or where you can get a correlation of the human emotions with the problems, definitely endocrinal systems plays very vital role over there. And in recent era, maximum disorders are related with this system. Maximum. You can get many more thyroid in it. Nearly about every families, the diabetes in every families, all those varieties of endocrinal disorders, which you can find it out nowadays. That most growth problems, over or underdevelopment of the whole body or parts, and many maladjustments of the child to its environment, and even to the adults to its relationships and problems, are related in some degree to endocrine imbalance. The modern student of homeopathy may have learned to scoff at the philosophy of Hahnemann, yet how close the endocrinologist's findings are to the teaching of Hahnemann, that the human being is a unit, mind, body, and spirit, and that these are so correlated, so correlated as to act freely and without impediment. When the vital principle, the spirit-like force or dynamics, is in equilibrium. Yet, if this equilibrium of the health be thrown out of balance by dysfunction of one member, or if this imbalance be manifest by the dysfunction principally of one organ, the whole is affected to a greater or lesser degree. Hahnemann have taught this, and this is very closely related with the endocrinology. If we find that there is something wrong with the mind, definitely it reflects on body. If there is anything wrong with the body, it reflects in the mind. So mind, body, and spirit, they are so closely allied, so closely related with each other. They used to produce impact of one of the system on another. This is what Hahnemann have taught. This is what we have learned. And same thing happens when we deal with the endocrinology, where one of the endocrine gland is at fault, but it reflects the whole human being. It affects the rest of the system. So if there is a problem with pituitary, it creates the problem with the rest of the whole glandular system along with the individual. So there is very close relationship between the homeopathy and endocrinology, and in first few paragraphs he explains the same thing, that the correlation between the endocrinology and the homeopathy. The doses we used to use in homeopathy are called to be infinitesimals. And if we go and learn the endocrine glands and their secretions, they are also so minute that it requires different scale of measurements. And that's why it is measured in international units. For example, simple thyroid, if there is a hypothyroidism, and if they give the thyroxine to the patient, this is given in microgram. Very important thing. So minute is the dose required to maintain the health in human being by endocrinal glands. The same is true that is related with the homeopathic doses. So minute is the dose. Another correlation between the homeopathy and endocrinal. This is what he says in next paragraph. So it is also that the function of the sum of the ductless glands is to secrete minute quantity of specialized products into the system, a secretion that has vital bearing on the health of the whole constitution. In many cases, this secretion of normal gland is so minute that it approaches the homeopathic attenuation. So, see, there is one important thing, again, one correlation. Endocrinal glands are ductless glands. These glands remains at one place, but its impact happens to be there on whole body. There is a thing which is there in the adrenal, and adrenal secretes the adrenaline and noradrenaline. If there is some fear, all of a sudden fright, and patient goes into panic state, it happens because suddenly, because of fright reaction, the adrenaline secretes noradrenaline and adrenaline into the blood, and within a fraction of second the heart goes into the palpitation. There is a tachycardia. Patient goes into the frightened stage. This happens within fraction of seconds. See, there is no channel through which it secretes its things, but it is released as of all of a sudden from the glands, and it reflects the whole human being. In the similar manner, homeopathic medicine, when put inside the mouth, it reflects at all levels without any specific channel. There is no channel which is needed, because it acts dynamically. In the similar manner, the endocrinal glands acts all over the body in the similar manner. That is another similarity. And third similarity which he has mentioned is related with the minuteness of the endocrinal secretions which are necessary to maintain the functions. The same minuteness is we used to use in homeopathic medicines while prescribing. So attenuation, the word which he has used is attenuation, is nothing but the potentization. It is potentized medicine. In the similar manner, it is the potentized hormones which act so fast on the human being, within fraction of second, it produces its action on all human beings. So the correlation between homeopathy and endocrinology is so clear that homeopathy plays very vital role in the management of endocrinal disorders. Further, he says, with this concept of the importance of endocrine glands in maintaining the health, and with almost infinitesimal amounts of some of these glandular secretions, we can hardly fail to see important relationship the homeopathic remedy may hold to manifest of the endocrine dysfunction and to the balance of ductless glands himself. So, if there is any problem with human being, for example, some problems related with endocrinal glands, the requirement which is provided by the homeopathic medicine is so fine, so minute, that it reflects immediately and produces the results over there. There are a number of cases of endocrine disorders we can treat confidently with homeopathy, which allopathy cannot. If you go and learn how do they adjust the doses, 10 years back, 10 years back, there were only three powers in hypothyroidism, they used to give 25 microgram, 50 microgram, 75 microgram, 100 microgram. These were the tablets available. And there was problem that whenever the patient has the problem with of the hypothyroidism, they used to prescribe 50 microgram. Again, they check the T3, T4, TSH. If it founds high, then again they reduce. They again, if the T3 and T4 is less and TSH is high, they increases the doses. Then after another month, they used to check it. Again, they found that now T3, T4 is increased, but TSH is reduced. Now they again wants to reduce it. And this adjustment was not possible because daily requirement is different. It depends upon situation. It depends upon the circumstances. And that's why you cannot adjust externally the doses of those hormones. And because of which there is always a maladjustment. Now they have the even 12.5 microgram thyroxine. There are the medicines where 82.5 microgram medicine is available. Such types of varieties with which they came out, but they cannot fix it because you cannot fix the human life. It is not mechanical. Human is a susceptible individual and every moment he is changing. How can you fix the dose materially of the thyroid in case of human? And this is the problem which happens while dealing with the endocrinal disorders to the endocrinologist. They cannot adjust the doses. But homeopath, with the help of similimum, perfect similimum, can treat these endocrinal disorders with infinite simul doses of the similimum. And this is again one important thing which we have to compare when we deal with the endocrinal disorder. In considering this vast subject, it is apropos to quote from the book by August A. Werner, MD, FSCP, entitled Endocrinology. He was in the 1937, he has written this book, Endocrinology. It was the most early book on endocrinology where he writes in the introductory part, what he writes as a very important. There has been much complaint from the physician in general that literature on endocrinology is technical and difficult to understand. And this was the problem at that time, and this was the problem. This is the problem at present time. It is not yet completely evolved. There is problem in understanding complaints, and there are variations in the complaints. Second important, there is a variation in doses. There are many problems. There are several reasons for seeming difficulties, among which may be mentioned. So why there were problem with the peoples to understand endocrinology? He mentions some of the reasons. One of them is the newness of the subject. It was a recent system which was evolved. That is the first point. The second, the lack of definite information as to the possible number of hormones and their functions. So there was no complete understanding about those hormones and their functions. So that was another reason why it was difficult to understand. Number three, the intricate interrelationship of the secretions of the ductless glands. The secretions secreted by those glands and their impact on the whole human being, that is not completely understood. And that is the third reason why they are not able to understand the things. Number four, the difficulty in application of the results of animal experimentation to the human, which aside from the scientific value of such work, is the ultimate object of these investigations. This is again one thing. The allopaths or modern science used to work on animals. They used to experiment on animals and considers human is one animal. The way they decide their dosage on the animals, then the similar manner they used to use it in human being. And this is the big difference. Most important difference is that if you give if animal in you have put certain things or certain endocrinal secretions, you cannot measure what are the emotional things happens over there. Animal cannot tell. And that's why they tries to fix their doses on the physiological or pathological changes. But human being is very sensitive. There is a big impact on the emotions. Endocrine is closely allied to the emotion. And because of which even minute dose may affect the human life, and that's why there is a disparity, and one cannot come to the right conclusion of doses in endocrinal disorder. The fifth point, the variation of potency of hormonal preparations used, and this is happening nowadays also. There is no fixed potency. They used to use it first 25, 50, 75, 100 microgram. Now they are shifting it to the 12.5, then 50, 25, then 37.5. In this manner, they are shifting their doses. So it is not it fixed, and there is always a jumbling whenever patient comes for follow. And last point which he explained, the difficulty of determining individual doses, which is influenced by the degree of functions of the glands of the patient, the individual susceptibilities of the patient, the cellular receptivity, interaction of other endocrine secretions, and effect of general metabolic factors and disease processes in each individual. Most difficult part is to judge how much to give. And there are a number of factors which takes part in the defining the doses, which was not the habit of allopathy. And that's why they were material oriented. They never takes or judge the susceptibility of the human being. They never gives importance to the human emotions, which one must find it out. Then they cannot find it out what is the correlation of one hormone with the another hormone, and if we give such a dose, what will be the impact on the another hormone. And because of which, the if you decide certain dose in one patient, it is not the same in another patient. It gets changed, and that's why there is always a problem. So, and the effect general metabolic factors and disease processes in each individual. So it is individualistic. Here it is very close to the homeopathy. Our doses also depends individually. We cannot prescribe the same dose for each and every patient, because we have to judge the susceptibility. We have to take into consideration the miasm. We have to take into consideration the constitution. We have to take into consideration what is the disease for which we are prescribing. We have to take into consideration whether it is acute disease or chronic disease. We have to take into consideration what pathology lies behind. If it is more pathological, then we have to think about the mild potencies or LM scale. So there are many more factors which we have to take into consideration when dealing with the patient. In the similar manner, the doses in endocrine disorders have to be utilized individually. And that's why there are many problems in treating the endocrine disorders, not only to the general practitioner or physicians, but also to the endocrinologist. And next sentence, with that sentence, we'll finish in today's session, because that sentence is very much necessary to understand. To be a good clinical endocrinologist, one must first be a good internist. First, this is the sentence. What do you mean by it? In order to become a good endocrinologist, one must be a good internist. Means what? Internist means he should be a good intern. Is it? No, it's not like that. Good internist means the person who used to look inside the human being, inside the dynamics of the human being. One who used to understand the human mind, the one who used to understand the human emotions, one who used to understand the dynamic concepts and functions of the human being. If he is able or familiar with all those concepts, then definitely he can understand endocrinology in better manner than rest of the people. So sentence is very important. A good To be a good clinical endocrinologist, one must be first a good internist, and the time is not far distant when, in order to be a good internist, one must be a good endocrinologist. Two things are correlated with each other. What is the person who is good internist can become a good endocrinologist, or good endocrinologist can have a thorough view to the internist of the human being. Human emotions, human mind, human internal functions, the physiological and pathological functions, all has very close relation with their disorder. And one has to understand human from all those points of view. Then it is possible to find it out a right therapeutic remedy for that disorder. And that's why the sentence which he has written over there, a good to be a good clinical endocrinologist, one must be a good internist, is very thorough. So on this note, we'll stop today, and tomorrow we'll continue with the same chapter. This was an introductory part which was necessary to understand, but later he went to directly with the endocrinal disorders one by one, and then its correlation with the homeopathy. So this chapter will give you a boost in your practice. So that's all for today. Thank you being there. We'll meet tomorrow again at the same time. Good evening.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.